My business partner confessed days before the merger launch. I don't actually believe in partnerships. I said, good to know. Then I canceled the press event, shut down the HQ tour, and listed the company retreat package for sale. Her frantic, I was just scared, messages went straight to archive. The glass doors to the new headquarters slid open with a soft hiss, and I stepped inside, the scent of fresh paint and new carpet hitting me like a silent victory. This was it, 6 months of planning, pitching, sweating over spreadsheets and zoning permits. The place looked perfect, modern without being cold. Clean lines, soft lighting, a layout that whispered future empire. I turned to Clara, expecting that giddy spark we used to share when we built something together. But her face was unreadable, calm, almost too calm. My name is Ethan. I'm 32 years old. I live in San Diego, California. She walked beside me through the main floor, heels clicking in a syncopated beat. I was talking through the logistics with the venue coordinator, final touches for the press launch, signage, access badges, the signature wall for partner sign-offs. Clara barely said a word, just nodded, maybe smiled once. I chalked it up to nerves. She never liked public events, said they made her feel like she was pretending. Everything good? I asked, catching her eye as we stepped into the elevator to check the rooftop deck. Yeah, she said. I was flicking to the display screen showing the floor count. Just thinking, back then, I didn't press. I thought we were aligned. The paperwork was signed, the press releases drafted. The front desk receptionist had matching embroidered polos. We were days away from announcing the partnership that had been 2 years in the making. Ethan and Clara Creative Consulting was about to go from niche to national, and we had built it together, me, the strategic engine, her, the design visionary. The ride back to the condo was quiet, mostly. We were halfway across the bridge when she said it. I don't actually believe in joint ventures. I think long-term contracts kill creativity. I glanced over, waiting for the punchline. None came. What? She was still looking out the window. It's not personal. I just don't think these kinds of structures work. Not for me. I gripped the steering wheel. You mean, like, not now? Or not ever? Her shoulder shrugged just slightly. I've been thinking about it for a while. I should have said something sooner, but I didn't want to derail everything. Good to know, I said, keeping my eyes on the road. The words were flat, not angry, just stunned. The rest of the ride was silence. My mind was scrambling, trying to fit this new information into any version of our timeline. She'd signed contracts. She'd helped select vendors. She had input on the press statement we were supposed to release next week. How do you spend months building something only to decide you don't believe in the entire foundation? When we got to her building, I pulled into the drop-off zone. She unbuckled slowly. I didn't mean to blindside you. Too late, I said. I'll call you tomorrow. She stepped out, closed the door, and I just sat there, watching the red taillights of her elevator fade up into the building. She didn't mean to blindside me. But that's the thing about partnerships. Trust isn't a switch you flip back on. Not after someone pulls the plug behind your back. The headquarters was still there. The branding still had both our names on it. But something fundamental had shifted. And deep down, I knew there was no version of this where we came back from it whole. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. Just lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the fan slicing slow circles through the dark like a metronome for the thoughts I couldn't stop. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard her voice again. I don't believe in joint ventures. And every time, it hit the same way, like a car door slamming shut in the middle of a conversation. Around 6, I got up, poured myself a double shot of bourbon into a coffee mug, and turned on my laptop. My name is Ethan. I'm 32. I live in San Diego, and as of this morning, I'm no longer launching a company with the woman I thought I'd build my future with. The first thing I did was cancel the press event. I pulled up the email thread with our PR consultant, typed up a short message, and hit send before I could second-guess it. Due to a sudden shift in strategic alignment, the partnership launch has been canceled. We thank you for your support and will follow up individually with further updates. Next was the venue, a sleek, modern rooftop space downtown with views that cost me a premium. The cancellation fee alone made my throat tighten, but I made the call anyway. The coordinator was polite, said he was sorry to hear it, and then rattled off the terms like he was reading from a parking ticket. $12,000 gone. Non-refundable bookings, deposit on the custom lighting design, branded cocktail napkins, photo booth reservation, all of it. I made a list. PR retainer, $3,000. Venue deposit, $4,500. Vendor packages, $2,200. Catering down payment, $2,300. Losses totaled out around 12 grand. $12,000 that I'd never see again. And it wasn't just money. It was belief, momentum, trust. I poured myself another drink, checked the clock, 7:12 a.m., and started drafting emails to stakeholders. The client list, the partners who had helped shape our pitch deck, the mentors we'd invited to speak, the press contacts we'd looped in for interviews. Each message was short and clean. Hi all. Due to a sudden change in direction, the public launch of Ethan and Clara Creative has been canceled. We appreciate your support and look forward to collaborating in future endeavors. I avoided saying her name, not because I wanted to protect her, she made her choice, but because I couldn't stand the way it looked now, sitting next to mine like it still belonged there. By the time I finished, my inbox looked like a war zone. Out-of-office replies, confused questions, a few sympathetic notes from people who read between the lines. My phone buzzed with calls I let go to voicemail. I wasn't ready to explain it yet, not out loud. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the empty glass. My whole morning had been a cleanup job, triage, and I hadn't even told Clara what I was doing. Maybe she expected me to wait, to talk it out, but she didn't ask for time. She asked for separation, just not in so many words. So I took her at face value. She didn't believe in long-term contracts? Fine. I'd cancel every one of them. A few hours later, I walked into the HQ one last time. The signage with our names was still on the door. The lobby smelled like new carpet. I stood in the center of the space and looked around at the custom desks we ordered, the prototype branding we mounted on the walls, the empty boardroom waiting to be filled. I took out my phone, snapped a picture, and deleted it right after. Some visions aren't worth preserving. Back home, I shut down my laptop and turned my phone off. For the first time in months, I had no meetings, no decks to revise, no countdown clock hanging over my head. It should have felt like relief. It didn't. It felt like betrayal in slow motion, like someone had rewritten the script of my life without telling me the new ending. That was the day I stopped being a partner, in business, in vision, in anything. From that moment on, I was just Ethan again, solo. And that wasn't the plan, but it was the reality. And now, I was finally ready to act like it. Clara started calling the next day. The first one came in just before noon. I let it ring until it stopped. 5 minutes later, another, then another. By the fourth attempt, I turned off my phone completely. I wasn't angry, not in the way people expect. I wasn't yelling or throwing things, or even replaying arguments in my head. I was quiet, focused. I had moved on to logistics, erasure, wiping our shared plans clean like a dry erase board that never held anything permanent. Saturday morning, I was sitting at my kitchen table, scrolling through a backlog of articles I hadn't had time to read, sipping burnt coffee, when the intercom buzzed. I knew it was her. I didn't answer at first. I let it buzz once, twice, and then I pressed the button. Who is it? Her voice came through, thinner than usual, but still too loud in the quiet of my apartment. It's me. Please let me up. I paused. Why? I need to talk to you. You had your chance to talk. You made a statement instead. The line was quiet for a beat. I panicked, okay? I didn't mean it the way it came out. I stayed silent, my thumb hovering over the button. I got scared, she said quickly, rushing to fill the space. Not of you. Not of us. I was scared of becoming irrelevant, of being trapped in something that would take everything I love and turn it into some predictable, dead routine. That's what you think we were building? I asked. Predictable? I didn't mean. Yes, you did. You meant every word. You just didn't expect consequences. She was quiet again. Then, I still want to build something. Just not like that. I leaned in close to the speaker. You don't believe in the structure we were creating. I'm simply honoring that. From the speaker, I could hear her exhale. It was shaky. She probably hadn't expected me to hold the line. I had always been the fixer, the steady one, the one who circled back, looked for middle ground, tried to understand. But this time, I understood all too clearly. I understood that she had been planning her exit before I ever saw it coming. I didn't want to hurt you, she said softly. You didn't want to feel responsible, I corrected. But that's the thing about partners. You don't get to rewrite the rules when it gets hard. You're being cold. No, I'm being clear. I messed up, Ethan. I'm sorry. I know you are. But sorry doesn't change the fact that I already paid the price for your hesitation. 12 grand. 72 hours of damage control. And a partnership that doesn't exist anymore. I could almost see her on the other side of the lobby glass, pacing maybe, or holding her arms like she was cold. Please, she whispered. Don't shut me out completely. I didn't answer. I pressed the disconnect button, turned away from the intercom, and walked back into the kitchen. Outside, the world was still bright. The sun spilled across the patio like nothing had changed. But inside, the line had been drawn. She had her clarity. Now she could live with it. I didn't hear from Clara the rest of that weekend. But Sunday evening, Just as I was finishing off the last of the groceries that didn't require planning, a sad rotation of boxed pasta and almond butter on toast, my phone lit up with a name I hadn't seen in years. Vivian Langford, Clara's mother. I stared at the screen a full 10 seconds before I answered. I didn't know her anything, but curiosity got the better of me. I wanted to hear the spin. Ethan, she said before I could say hello. Her voice was sharp, clipped, the kind of tone people save for talking to landscapers they think are overcharging them. So you're just going to humiliate her like that? I blinked. Good to hear from you too, Vivian. Don't get smug with me. I had to find out from her, crying on my couch, that you canceled everything. The launch, the party, the bonuses. Do you have any idea what you've done? Do you? I asked calmly, walking over to the window. Outside, the sun was just starting to drop behind the downtown skyline. It should have been a perfect evening to celebrate the start of our firm. Should have. She was under pressure, Vivian snapped. People say things when they're stressed. You don't throw away an entire professional future over a comment. She didn't make a comment, I said. She made a confession. She told me, in no uncertain terms, that she doesn't believe in the structure of long-term creative partnerships. That's not stress. That's vision, or lack thereof. Vivian scoffed. So that's it? You're just pulling the plug on everything? Do you have any idea how hard she's worked? Yes, I said, which is why I let her speak her truth. And I believed her. You didn't even give her a chance to explain. She explained plenty. There was a pause. I could hear her exhale, try to switch tactics. Listen, she said, her tone softening. If you're really going to be like this, fine. I think it's a mistake, but fine. But you need to at least let her keep the launch bonuses and the team incentives. She's already promised them to people. I closed my eyes, shook my head slowly. You mean the launch bonuses that were tied to a launch that doesn't exist anymore? I asked. The ones I personally financed? She's your partner. She was, I said. And I've already absorbed $12,000 in non-refundable costs. That's on me. That's the burden I took when she decided to back out. But I'm not going to subsidize someone who doesn't share the vision. That's cold, Ethan. No, I said. That's clarity. Something this whole situation's been missing. There was a long silence on the line. I pictured her sitting in her immaculate living room, clutching the phone with one hand and a glass of wine with the other, wondering how the hell I'd flip the script. She said you were cruel, Vivian murmured finally, that you made her feel small. I nodded to myself. Funny. That's how I felt when she torched our future on the drive home. Vivian didn't reply, just hung up. I set the phone down and went back to my desk. The list of vendor accounts I needed to close was still open on the screen. So was the spreadsheet of partnership equity I'd need to reassign. Cold? Maybe, but necessary. You don't get to take the parachute and still collect frequent flyer miles. Not in my world. Not anymore. It started Monday morning. My inbox pinged with a message from Brielle, our lead UX consultant. Subject line, just FYI, Clara's people are talking. I clicked it open. Hey Ethan, just wanted to give you a heads up. There's a group text going around. Clara looped in a few of the creative leads we worked with during the early branding sprints. They're saying the whole launch cancellation was you panicking. That she just had a moment of honesty and you blew it out of proportion. Thought you should know. B. I stared at the screen, then clicked the attached screenshot. There it was. Plain as day. Clara was just being honest. One of them wrote. He's being dramatic, blowing everything up like a wounded CEO. It was a difference of opinion, not betrayal. I closed the tab, leaned back in my chair, and let out a long breath. The funny thing was, I wasn't even surprised. Of course Clara wouldn't go radio silent. She was a storyteller, and when you lose control of the story, you rewrite the characters until you're the misunderstood hero and everyone else is collateral damage. An hour later, I got a Slack ping from Joel, our most loyal project manager. The kind of guy who showed up early, stayed late, and carried a mechanical pencil behind his ear like he was still in architecture school. Joel just got roped into a group thread with Clara's designer friends. They're trying to spin the fallout. One of them said, it's just a creative misalignment. Ethan's too rigid for the vision. Then, a second message. Joel, I told them straight up, that's not honesty. That's breach of intent days before going public. I stared at that line for a moment. Breach of intent. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Clara didn't just change her mind. She let me build the plane, seat the passengers, taxi down the runway, and then casually pulled the emergency exit before takeoff. And now, apparently, I was being too rigid for noticing. That afternoon, I posted a public message in our project update channel, the one where we've been building excitement for the launch over the last few months. Clients, consultants, vendors, everyone was in there. I kept it simple. Effective immediately, the Ethan and Clara creative venture has been canceled due to irreconcilable differences in vision. No further updates will be issued. Thank you for your support. Then I logged off. No comments. No explanations. No mudslinging. Just a clear line in the sand. Clara wanted to play the misunderstood artist, blindsided by corporate rigidity? Fine. Let her have her audience. I had mine, and mine respected honesty over spin. By evening, 2 more messages came in. One from a freelance designer in New York. Thank you for the transparency. Honestly, what you posted earned you more credibility than any PR statement. The second was from a startup founder we'd been in talks with. If you're still consulting solo, I'm in. I want to work with someone who takes accountability that seriously. Clara could paint her story however she wanted. I had moved on from making art. Now, I was just telling the truth. It was Wednesday morning when the email hit my inbox. Subject: Your reservation update is confirmed. I blinked, confused. The only reservation I had booked recently was the company retreat, a 5-day getaway in Sedona, part reward, part decompression after the launch that never happened. It was supposed to be for both of us, a celebration. I opened the email. My jaw clenched. Your name change request has been processed successfully. The new lead guest for the reservation is Clara Langford. Your updated confirmation code is below. No way. I clicked through to the resort portal and logged in using the corporate travel account. Sure enough, my booking was there. Same dates, same room tier, but under her name. She hadn't even changed the email, just the guest name, as if I wouldn't notice. I picked up the phone and called the resort directly. After a few rings, a concierge answered. Hi, this is Ethan Harper. I booked a reservation for next week under my name, but I just received a notification that the name has been changed without my authorization. The voice on the other end paused. Yes, Mr. Harper. That request came in yesterday. It was submitted online using your confirmation number, and you just approved it? It came through with full account credentials, she replied, sounding slightly defensive. We assumed it was you. Well, it wasn't, I said, and I want the name reverted immediately. And I want the reservation locked down with a photo ID requirement for check-in. No changes. No handoffs. The concierge hesitated. We can do that. Good. Send me the new confirmation with the security flag noted. I hung up, leaned back in my chair, and stared at the ceiling for a long moment. Clara had tried to steal the trip, the one I paid for, the one she helped plan under the banner of a now-dead partnership. She was going to walk into that luxury resort like nothing had happened, like she still had a claim to the perks of a future she set fire to. I picked up my phone, opened our last text thread, and typed, "Nice try. Don't contact me unless it's about picking up your things." I stared at the message for a second, then hit send. It was quiet after that. No reply. No apology. No, I didn't mean to, or it was a mistake. She knew. She knew exactly what she had done. That was the thing about Clara. Even when the words failed her, the moves never did. They were always calculated, always clean. But this time, she miscalculated. Because I was no longer her business partner, and I was done being her fallback plan. The vacation was back under my name, and I was going alone. The next firestorm didn't come from Clara directly. It came through the grapevine. First was an email from a former vendor, someone who had designed early mock-ups for our branding package. Hey, just checking, heard from someone that you called off the launch because of a breakdown. That true? Hope you're okay. Then came a LinkedIn message from a design intern we'd both mentored. Saw Clara's mom post something about you spiraling. I didn't believe it, but I figured I'd ask. And then the last straw, a Venmo notification. Not to me, to someone I knew. A public one. From Clara, with the caption, "Thanks for contributing to the Recovery Fund Red Heart for everyone who still believes in rebuilding." Recovery Fund. I sat in silence for a minute, the kind that feels thick enough to drown in. Vivian and Clara weren't just spinning the story, they were actively collecting on it. Using the goodwill from our postponed launch to play the wounded artist card. Soliciting money, gifts, sympathy. I even heard from one of the invited journalists that someone had hinted I withdrew in a panic and left Clara to pick up the pieces. No, absolutely not. I pulled open my laptop and drafted one last email. A mass message. Not dramatic, just precise. Honest. With receipts. Subject: regarding the canceled launch, for transparency. Hi all. As many of you were directly involved or invited, I want to clarify a few things regarding the canceled Ethan and Clara Creative Partnership launch. 1 week prior to the event, Clara informed me that she does not believe in joint ventures or long-term creative contracts. Her exact words were, "I think long-term contracts kill creativity." Based on that, I made the decision to cancel the launch, absorb the financial losses, and notify our stakeholders. This was not a breakdown, nor a dramatic response. It was strategic and necessary. Additionally, Clara attempted to transfer the company-funded vacation reservation to herself without permission. Screenshots are attached. I wish her well, but I will not be engaging in narratives that distort the truth. Thank you for your continued professionalism. Ethan Harper. I attached a screenshot of Clara's original text, the email from the resort confirming her unauthorized name change, and the refund statement showing that the charges had reverted to my card. I hit send. Within an hour, replies started rolling in. Wow, thanks for the clarity. This matches what a few of us suspected. I'm sorry this happened. Proud of how you handled it. Damn, that's not spiraling. That's boundaries. Someone even CC'd Vivian in a reply and wrote, maybe now we can stop with the donation links. By the end of the day, Clara's damage control was dead in the water. No more whispers. No more fundraising. Just silence. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something unexpected. Dignity. Not just because I'd told the truth, but because I did it without shouting, without stooping, just calmly, clearly, finally taking back the narrative. It was never about winning. It was about not letting someone else rewrite who I was. Not again. The silence that followed felt foreign. It wasn't empty, it was earned. Like walking out of a storm shelter after the wind finally stops howling. That weekend, I got a text from Darren, one of our developers. We hadn't spoken since the cancellation. Man, I should have said something sooner. I didn't know what really happened. I'm sorry I doubted you. 2 hours later, a message from another contractor came through. Didn't believe the rumors, but I still froze. My bad. Just wanted to say I get it now, and I've got your back. They weren't just apologies. They were acknowledgments. People quietly admitting they bought into a version of the story that wasn't real, because it was easier. And now they were trying, in their own ways, to make it right. Some of them sent me things. A book on creative leadership. A bottle of small batch scotch with a handwritten note. You survived a corporate ghosting. Cheers. Even a stupid little cactus in a white ceramic pot that arrived anonymously. No card. Just a tag that read, still here. I lined the gifts up on my windowsill like little trophies of resilience. That Monday, I boxed up the last of the Ethan and Clara co-branded materials. The mugs, the tote bags, the hard drives with her voice on file naming our imaginary future. I didn't burn them. I didn't throw them out. I donated every last piece to a nonprofit design incubator that helps young creatives build their portfolios. Let them turn it into something real, something they believed in. Then I opened the drawer with the shared items. Client onboarding forms with both our names. Partnership swag. I returned all digital gifts to sender. Canceled shared software accounts. Reassigned cloud storage. It took all day. The last thing left was the launch speech. I had written it in a notebook. The real kind. Leather cover, hand-bound pages, my handwriting sloppy in some places, overworked in others. It started with, when you build with someone, you're not just designing a company, you're designing a promise. I tore it out slowly, walked to the fireplace, and fed it in, one page at a time. The flame caught instantly, curling the edges black, burning through the ink like it had been waiting. After it was gone, I sat down on the couch. No music, no background noise, just the hiss of the last ember. My phone buzzed. A message from my old mentor, Carla, someone I hadn't worked with in years. Heard about the fallout. Consider it a bullet dodged, not a failure. Attached was a bottle of whiskey from the year I founded my first consultancy, with a note scribbled on the label. Dodged a hostile takeover. Cheers. I cracked it open and poured a single finger over ice. Sat by the window, watching the last light fade into the skyline. I wasn't healed. Not yet. But I wasn't broken either. I was just finally free of something that had asked for more than it was willing to give. Not the money. Not even the business. It was the illusion that I was building with someone who valued the same thing I did. That was the real loss. But losing it might have saved me. 1 month later, Clara had disappeared. Not in the literal sense. She still existed online. Still posted the occasional filtered coffee shot or minimalistic desk layout. But she'd gone quiet in the circles that mattered. No client pushes. No public commentary. No speaking panels. Just radio silence from someone who used to fill a room with her presence before even opening her mouth. Word was, she'd moved back in with her family for a while. Taking a beat, as one mutual contact phrased it, like she was just pausing between sentences instead of trying to rewrite a whole failed chapter. I didn't reach out, and she didn't either. Meanwhile, I was packing for a trip that, somehow, I hadn't canceled. The Sedona retreat, what was supposed to be our post-launch escape, had become something else entirely. A solo re-entry, a soft reset, a vacation for one, paid for by the version of me that used to believe in us. I tossed the last of my clothes into a duffel bag, zipped it shut, and glanced over at the fireplace. The only thing left on the mantel was a small espresso machine, a gift from a friend who'd said, if you're going to rebuild, Start with decent coffee. The sun was rising through the blinds, casting soft lines across the floor. I took the machine for a test run, ground the beans, brewed a short pull, and took a sip as I stood by the window. It was bitter, strong, real. Next to the sink, I spotted the speech notebook, the new one. Blank. I hadn't written anything yet. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because I wasn't sure who I was saying it to anymore. And for once, that didn't feel like failure. It felt like possibility. On my way out, I saw the old launch folder, the backup USB, the rolled blueprint mock-ups, the stacked proposal decks. I picked them up, walked back inside, and dropped them in the shred bin without a second thought. By the time I stepped into the car, my phone buzzed. A reminder I'd set weeks ago, back when I thought I'd be waking up next to Clara, heading to the airport together. It read, "Today, begin again." I smiled. Not the wistful kind, the grounded kind. The kind that comes when you've been to the edge of your plans and found yourself still standing. As I pulled out of the garage, I let the quiet fill the car. No music, no talking, just me, the road, and the low hum of freedom. I didn't know exactly what was waiting in Sedona, but I knew one thing. I wasn't carrying anyone else's vision with me, just mine, and that was enough.